All right, so yeah, my name's Robett Hollis, not Robert, not Robert, not anything else. It is Robett, Ron, Betty, grandparents together, and it is not French. So I guess I'll quickly give you guys probably just my life's really, really weird now, so like I'll just get to some bullet point stuff and then I can just start ranting, raving on. I don't really have too much of a plan, I just kind of freestyle most of this stuff, so we'll figure it out. I grew up on a farm in Dargaville till I was 4. Then moved to Fiji till I was 9. My dad was working for like a Habitat for Humanity type business, helping local villages and stuff, which was really cool. And then came back to Christchurch when I was 9 years old, and grew up in Aranui, Christchurch. So if you know Christchurch, Aranui is kind of probably like not the fanciest probably area of town. Not the best, but and that's sort of where I grew up. And so the reason why my business is named Aranui Ventures now is because the perception of some of the stuff that I sort of went through was kind of negatively looked down upon from where I was from. The fact that I was from Aranui, so like what more genius way than to name your entire business and everything after Aranui, where I was born. So the A that I rep is I'm repping where I'm from, and so that's for me everything I build of positivity and everything I do from this point. I want to feel that comes from, you know, to build something positive off that. So that's the first thing. I just want to tell you 3 quick things about that help with the mindset of, you know, obviously I've done lots of different bits and pieces, media, tech, entrepreneurship, and a whole bunch of stuff. But I really wanted to give you 3 quick stories around I guess my childhood, my upbringing, for my headspace of what's made me where I am now. When I was 11 years old, when I came back, I had an older sister, younger sister, and I was 11 years old, and then my dad had a double brain hemorrhage. So if you don't know anything about that, basically it's like a stroke, and my dad went back to the brain capacity of a 6-year-old. So at 11 years old, I was kind of like man of the house. So that was really shitty. Then when I was 15 years old, he finally kind of got back good, and then on New Year's Eve, we were on a family holiday up north. We got into a car crash, and I watched my dad pass away in front of me. That sucked as well. Right, so then I'm 15 years old, kind of man of the house since I was 11. Then I lost my dad when I was 15, and then I went to my careers advisor a couple months later, and I was 15 and sixth form. I got pushed up a year, so I finished high school when I was 17. And I went to the careers advisor, and then they went through and they had like a CD-ROM and it was like kind of like an online questionnaire type thing to say, you know, what you could kind of do, because I wasn't book smart. I ended up failing high school and I couldn't get into uni, but before the point, I kind of went through this thing. And then at the end of it, my careers advisor said to me, she was like, hey, you know, congratulations, Robett, you know, you could work at a warehouse packing boxes. And so if that's what you want to do, and if you're helping out and that's what gets you stoked in life, sweet. But you need to understand that the mindset of what that's actually telling a 15-year-old kid who's just lost his dad, grown up in the hood, got a bunch of gangs and drug and bullshit around them, you know, like that's the world I was in. So that was actually a really dangerous thing to say to a kid, you know, and it actually puts a really dangerous ceiling on the perception of what they thought my success could be. So at that exact moment, I still remember it, and I'm sitting there, and then I was just like, perfect. Her saying that's where she thought I could do with my life, was like the most motivating, driving factor of all time of everything I've ever done. Because I was just like, perfect. You think I'm going to do that? Okay, cool, all right. And I just like, wait. So like that whole piece of negativity of what someone thought, I used into fuel that, obviously built and done a whole bunch of stuff that I've done. So that's kind of that. Then I moved on. I was really into sports. I played basketball for Canterbury, basketball for New Zealand, soccer for Canterbury, soccer for New Zealand, hockey for Canterbury, done a whole bunch of stuff, and you know, all over the show, very into sport, got into snowboarding, expanded into the world, and traveled the world as a pro snowboarder, started a media company, and a whole bunch of the rest of the things. And you can track my I'm pretty easy to track down online with all my kind of stuff, so I won't bore you with that. What I do want to talk to you about is how I'll step one step back. When I was 20 years old, I had a goal that by the time I was 30 years old, I would not be retired, but I would have options, right? So last year I turned 30, I feel 50, but last year I turned 30, and now I have options. So what I have is time. And I judge my time based on this really weird formula, and I just want to like talk to you about some of the mindset of how I think about it. So if you want to be a millionaire, the average hour works out to about $480, right? So if I see a room of 100 people and I'm looking at an average hour's worth of time of, $500, I feel that the value that I need to give for your time being consumed by my time needs to at least be worth $50,000 worth of value back. So I take my time very seriously to the point where I literally want any ideas or value that gets given from my rants and ramblings to help someone win that. So I don't think of my time I don't think my time as money, I think of it as value. So a big thing for me is over this course that I add enough value back to the other side, or else it just doesn't become much good or much worth to anyone. I want to talk about a few things. What I want to talk about, everyone talks about like bravery with youth, right? Everyone's like, oh, you're young, you can do it, this and that. The problem with bravery, it's usually, I have this saying, I said that, innovation is bravery in action, because what happens to innovate or to do things differently is that means you literally need to do exactly what no one else is doing. So if everyone's doing this, and if you need to innovate, you're going to do something different, which means you're going to stand away from the pack. To stand away from the pack, you then need bravery to be able to do that, and confidence in yourself, have enough full ability of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And so innovation is directly correlated to bravery. So for any moves that you want to do or anything, if it's to do with innovation, disruption, XYZ, it needs to be understanding that is purely synced with bravery to be able to do it. Because it's real easy when you're young to talk a whole bunch of shit. It's another thing to be able to go out there and actually do it. And what you'll find when you get older is the relationships that I now have with people aren't about, it's about two things. Well, three things. Do I like them? Do I trust them? And will they execute? Will they get stuff done? And I like to sit in a room now wherever I roll into a situation, they already know if they like me, if they trust me, if I'm probably going to get stuff done. So I'm really, really big on the fact of when you're young, sit back and earn the right to an opinion through execution. Youth are real jibber-jabby about what they're going to do, right? The best value I see is when no one says anything, starts executing, because the decision makers are watching. The guys who you think you're trying to impress, talking's not going to do it. Execution is what's going to give you leverage. Doing things are what's going to show the other side that you're not full of it. Proving success or failure, but owning it with positive momentum always is the key. If you can consistently earn the right for an opinion through execution over the next 10 years, you'll sit at 30 years old and everyone knows you're not pissing around, they like you and they trust you. Then life gets really interesting, because 90% of my time with weaklings would be a conversation around this. Hey, I've got this idea to do this thing, man. Do you know where I can get some money? Or like, hey man, do you have some spare coin to help me do this thing? It's like, if your energy is predicated waiting on others to either give you something or waiting for them to give you the ability to do it, that's a losing mentality. It's a weak mentality. No one owes you anything. No one's going to give you anything. If you're trying to build something predicated on someone giving you something first, I think you're a loser. You shouldn't have to wait. You've got time because you're young. You've clearly got talent because you're sitting in this room. And you've got access to technology which 10 years ago no one even had, or it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to. So if I hear a single bit of excuse, I think I see weakness. And the people up the top see weakness, and the people up the top there, and it's all relative, right? Like, I'm only 30. I'm still, like, I feel like I'm 10 years old in the business world. Because I kind of am. I started my business when I was 20. Now I'm 30. I'm still super, super young. It's such a dangerous spot when youth are all jibber-jabber and no action. And I really can't stress that to you enough, because I don't care what the pitch looks like, what your talk looks like. All I'm looking at is, do I like you? Do I trust you? Will you execute? Or have you executed? And it really needs to sink in, because when there are 10,000 people trying to do the exact same thing you're doing, what's the point of difference? I don't care what school you went to. I don't care what grades you got. I couldn't give a shit about any of that. All I care about is, do I like you, do I trust you, and will you execute? Or, if you're actually executing, I already know who you are and you won't know it. That's the craziest thing. The decision makers on the other side are actually in that loop where they're looking. Like Rob was talking about it before. He saw him 5 years ago. He wouldn't have been thinking of those relationships. You need to understand another thing, which is long game versus short game. Long game versus short game. If you're standing up in this business landscape, how old are you guys? Like, 10? What are you guys? Like 16, 17, 15, whatever. You guys have such a ridiculously long game to play in business. I want to talk to you about a really simple story. Someone that was close to me, really close, screwed me on a deal for 20 grand. It was some whack shit, right? Anyway, long story short, it's gone. The danger with that is what he didn't understand at the time when he burnt the bridge is I'm going to be here in 5 years, I'm going to be here in 10 years, I'm going to be here in 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, till 200100. I'll be trying to do damage. And what do you think is going to happen if my trajectory of where I'm going in comparison to trajectory of someone else who isn't hustling and hard and has a moral compass or ethical compass that isn't aligned? It's going to come back across. And then what do you think is going to happen? He loses opportunity, loses whatever, and he's going to lose in the long game. This is right now, the 3s and 4s are becoming the 1s and 2s. So the junior account exec from 2005 is now becoming the marketing manager, the general manager, maybe a managing director, maybe a CEO. The young bucks are becoming the old bucks, or the new decision makers. You need to understand the relationships that you're building now you guys aren't even the 3s and 4s yet. You guys are just starting. You guys are like the 5s and 6s and the 10s, right? Great. Grind, 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 grind. Don't burn a bridge when you're the 10 that could cost you everything when you're the 2. Do you know what I mean? Don't do it. And it's not worth it for 5,000, for 10,000, for 20,000, for 50,000, stuff it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't flip on any of my crew for anything because it's not about the money, it's about the message. And you need to truly understand that the relationships that you are building today are going to have implications when you don't even, this is the other thing, you guys are in different schools, whatever, boom, boom, boom. I guarantee 20 of you guys will do business with each other in the next 20 years. 50. Guarantee it. If you guys are all on the right track to do whatever. Now don't be the guy that burns that bridge thinking of the short game. Build credibility, execute, build leverage, work with others, and think the long game. Because as the whole world morphs and changes, you don't want to be the one that did the dumb move when you were 20, not thinking about what would happen when you're 50. I can't express that enough. Other one thing I want to talk about, relationships around people and stuff, and Rod spoke about it before, was I was at this I get invited to real weird stuff. Anyway, it was this crazy charity thing, right? And there was John Key was there, and then there was a charity auction that was like, oh, you could win a cup of tea at the Prime Minister's office, and go to Wellington and get to hang out with the Prime Minister. It'd be super cool. Anyway, start betting. It's like 500,000, 1,500, 2 grand, 2.5 grand. It started getting up. And then John Key at the time, he then was like, oh, cool. And if you don't live in Wellington, we'll fly you down there. And he's like, yeah, is Tony in the room? And so Tony was on the board of Air New Zealand. He was at the table next to me. And so we were just talking beforehand. He was running a marathon or doing something. And then Tony was like, yep. And then John just goes, you'll chuck in some flights, won't you, mate? And Tony's like, yep, done. Everyone laughed, right? I didn't see that as laughing. I was like, wow. His access and credibility opened up the door through one quick like, yo, can you do that? Yep, done. And something happened, something got executed. Now, if you take their titles and everything else away, how would you try and get those free flights? Like, obviously, they're in power and influence. What? info@airnewzealand.co.nz. Hi, I want a free flight to get to Wellington. Gassed. Not going to happen. Rock in, knock, knock. Hey, I want to try and get a free flight. Stuff you. Piss off. Next. Like, that's what will happen, right? That's what will happen. But in that moment, when everyone thought it was funny, I didn't see that. I was like, he's built his entire, existence to get to a spot where he has credibility and he has access to the other side that can actually be the decision maker. And then with one just like, yo, yep, sweet, boom. Like we did a Christmas party for the NZ Tech entrepreneurial ecosystem. And literally, I just rung up a DB and I was like, yo, we've got this thing going on, it's going to be sick. Can you send down some free beers? Like, yep, sweet, done. Boom. 30 dozen turned up. Didn't even ask for it. That level of execution with people that are on the other side, that means something after at a certain point. So understand that everything you execute that has positive momentum adds little points of life that are going to come back to help you a lot. And I can't say that enough. Like, think about it. They're talking about, other guy before. He's already done that in 5 years. Think what he's going to do in the next 10. They're backing the jockey, not the horse. They're looking at you. Do they like you? Do they trust you? Will you be the jockey that wins the race, not necessarily the horse. Same thing happens in the tech landscape. I'll do another quick little vent for a few minutes, and then I'm keen for some Q&A because it's the same with other sides, so I really want to do that. The other bit is, a thing that I've had to deal with is authenticity. I actually haven't had to deal with, others had to. It's authenticity in myself with how I roll, right? So I come from a landscape where I grew up, hip hop kid, I don't know, Christchurch, hoodies and all the rest of it. And not much has really changed. Same guy, same stuff, but a totally different world. Now, it's because I don't need to suit and boot to roll into, like I go to my board meetings literally like this. I don't wear suits, I wear a $7 t-shirt. It's how I roll, how I'm comfortable with, because it's true to who I am. But at the same time, if I tried to fake it and be something that I wasn't, I wouldn't have the credit because they could tell I'm faking it. Because I'm totally comfortable in who I am, what I represent, what I'm about, and I couldn't care. My energy and time has zero value in anyone else's if I care what they think of me. It's not to say you don't care about people. I love people. I've got like an awesome group of friends. I try to help out whoever I can, wherever I can. I love it. But in no way am I changing who I am temporarily to feel that the other side's going to respect me more or something if it's not true to who I am. So just understand that if you have a true comfort in yourself, you will save yourself a lot of time and energy about worrying what other people think. And a lot of the time, especially when I knew it when I was young. I knew it when I was 11. I already knew how I was going to be. I already knew what I was about. Nothing, fazed me or nothing got in my way. And that's great. I see 40-year-olds today who still don't know. And I can see it. They don't know exactly what do they really stand for if they weren't getting paid from that business. What would they really say if the decision maker wasn't in the room? How do they really feel about stuff? Now, I could be wrong about everything I'm saying, but I've earned the right to my opinion because I've done enough in the lanes to give me the opportunity to be able to talk about it. And I think that's good. I've got some great friends, and we go head to head on a bunch of stuff, but they have earned their right to that opinion. With youth, make sure you earn your right to be able to say something, or else you're just a young buck talking shit. Thank you.